onto the live. I'm not fucking.
Well,
I don't know
fucking
where
live
the
now, so
fucking
tweet it.
brand thing is.
Welcome to Game of Nodes, a weekly podcast on the cosmos from independent validator teams. Well, that was confusing. Hello and welcome to Game of Nodes, a weekly podcast on the cosmos from independent validator teams. And now I really don't know whether I'm coming or going. On today's episode, we've got Udit joining us from stakeeasy, which I guess Juno folks may recognize as a liquid staking protocol that's recently gone live there. And yeah, I'm getting bullied for my lack of organization on tweeting. So I'm going to mute myself and go and deal with Twitter. And
I think it's done. Somebody just did
you
it.
just fucking do it.
We'll do it. You just.
Did you do it?
Or maybe you scheduled it.
I think he might have scheduled it.
That's actually how you pronounce it. You know,
I understand.
I'm not going to make it personal. I'm not going to make it personal. I'm going to rise above it. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. So, liquid staking. Let's just talk about liquid staking immediately and get me off the hook. Udit, do you want to tell us a little bit of background? I'm always interested in this as a dev. Like, what's your background? How did you get into crypto and stuff, and how long you've been working in the space?
Yeah,
and then we'll talk about stakeeasy. But first, I want to know about you, buddy.
Okay.
Well, hang on a bit. Well, it's you and you. Like, is there a team of you guys? Because just to get that out of the way first, is there a team?
Yes, there's a team of I think 6 or 7 people. Like, it fluctuates. Some people join, some people leave. But we have like 3 Rust developers and 2 front-end developers and 1 content writer.
Awesome, man. Now tell us about you.
Yeah. Yep. So I think, So I graduated in 2020 when the COVID hit. So after that, I joined full-time in a fintech company at a trading firm. So it was building out the C++ infrastructure for high-frequency trading. So I worked there for nearly a year and a half, completely work from home. So I'm kind of like the guy who needs to be told what to do to be on schedule. So I was working from home. So I was procrastinating as much as I could. So they found out, okay, your work is good, but your discipline is not. So I said, okay, it doesn't align well. And at that time, I think around last year, January, my co-founder, Amit, he was already working on Algorand. I'm sorry, it was. So yeah, he was working in Algorand, and so there's a tool called Hardhat on Ethereum, which simplifies your process of building your contracts. So the same tool was being built by him and a guy. I'm really sorry about this.
No, it's all good, man. Hydrate.
So yeah, I was saying that. So he was building Algo Builder. So I think he already was working it for around 2 years. So at that time, Bitcoin was going from 20,000 to 30,000 to 40,000, and every other news was covering it. So I was like, okay, there's something here that I can look into. So I discussed with him, like, what's the development side of things. So he got me through what a swap is and what contracts are and what Ethereum is. So then I was like, okay, I have some free time, let me look into it. So we first decided, okay, we can make a swap. Then we saw that, okay, every chain has a swap, and it doesn't make any sense to build another swap. Then we sort of found out, okay, the Cosmos SDK has a lot of things going on. And the Cosmos is relatively newer language as compared to Solidity. And there's a lot of lack of tooling here that we see, okay, now we can identify 3 or 4 points that we can improvise on, and we combine that into one tool that can be used to like really simplify the process and make it more verbose for the user, for the developer itself. So we built out Polar, which is development framework for Secret Network, and we got the grant from Secret Labs for developing that. And yeah, so after that in December, we started working on liquid staking because we found out, okay, liquid staking is something that is a really good fit for a proof of stake chain. And we saw that, okay, Lido has worked on Ethereum and found like a really good solution that works for a retail investor, for instance. Like for Ethereum, if you wanted to stake your ETH, you needed at least 32 ETH at that time. So Lido solved that problem by, if anyone has 1 ETH, they can also stake that through Lido and get ST. So the same solution, we found that, okay, it's not available throughout Cosmos. We can first start with Secret and then see how we can also simplify the UX. Because if you see the first DEX came, Uniswap, it was a good solution. But then Curve came and a lot of other swaps came that improved that model even further, or like optimized. It came with limit orders and stuff like that. So you saw that, okay, in liquid string also, this is kind of like the first generation of the protocol. And then it can be improved further by iteration by different teams. So we also saw that, okay, the first thing that's really important here is that several exchanges, central exchanges like Binance, they have these features where, like, okay, you can trade your crypto like any token like BTC, Atom, or ETH, but they know that, okay, most investors are going to hold it. So why not just provide them with some yield opportunities? And I've seen most of the yield opportunities are indirectly just staking with the validator, but they take a huge cut, and the end user, the retail user, doesn't know that where's the yield coming from and how much is that yield and how much they are taking. They just know that, okay, it's better to have it generating some yield than to have no yield at all. So our end goal is to provide that level of user experience and give the transparency of DeFi to the end user. And liquid staking just one step into it.
So it has been so the Juno implementation. I haven't really looked too much into like the secret implementation and stuff like that, but it seems like you are starting to gain some users of the platform as well. I'm not sure, is it accelerating or is it sort of tapered off? Is it hit like a bit of an S curve, or is it continuing on an upward trend?
It's much more traction than we got in secret, because now I think it's around about to reach 400,000 Juno. Like when I had interview with Don, it was 300,000 Juno. So
yeah, and that was like about a week ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you found like what uses for SE Juno and B Juno have you got so far? Or are you like working on partnerships with people, or is it purely at the moment just farming in the Juno swap?
It's so 3 swaps are there. Osmosis, we have pairs on Osmosis and on Juno swap and also on LoopDex. So the next step is to find a good lending protocol that we can use. So we're looking into ways maybe we can collaborate with Mars if it comes to Juno anytime in near future, or maybe also we can utilize IBC to send the SE Juno over to any other chain. So there's also Sienna Lend, which we integrated our SE Secret with, but we'll see like if we can integrate SE Juno with that also. So you can have liquid stake Juno, which you can take over to a lending protocol on Secret, and then take out, let's say, maybe USDC while depositing that.
So the next move is into lending.
Yeah.
So is that's just going to be on Juno, or are you going to integrate that like across Juno and then into Secret and other networks? Or
wherever the UX is better, because with Secret, like it's an unpopular take, but I see that a lot of like, for instance, with our application on Secret and Juno, the Juno RPC is much more responsive than the Secret RPC is, because like it's a different model that Secret has applied, which leads a lot of work, and so they haven't reached that up to that level that they can integrate all of those features and also make them stable enough. So it kind of requires a lot of work to reach that level of stability, because they're taking their own kind of like a lot of. So basically, they're adding their custom WOSM engine, WOSME, I guess. So that itself, in a nutshell, is a lot of work. So if you had that kind of work, it kind of like makes you also want to put extra work to even make it stable. And currently, like there's a lot of tensing in timeouts and things like that we have to make sure on the front end side is handled. So it's really hard to make the end user understand that where's that error coming from. Is it from the API? Is it from the front end? Or is it from the contract? Or is it from the network itself? So that difference, I feel, is there to maybe in terms of just a simple UX experience. For example, like if you look at why Osmosis is a really good DEX, is that it just works. it works really well for the case that it's been built for. And
Yeah.
so that's, I feel, is the main thing that the protocol should first look into. You just want to get the first thing that you're building to be as much right as possible it can be, or as much stable as can be.
So you're basically like on your MVP at the moment, and then you're going to start building on that and adding different products.
Yeah. So first is just get the MVP as much as working perfectly as it can be. So when we launched in March, we only had the SE token. So it's only this SE secret, no B secret at the moment. And then we worked on, we saw that, Lido did implement this kind of two token model when they had liquid staking on Terra, because they wanted to integrate with Anchor. So they had this model where they had ST Luna and B Luna interchangeable, but so the B Luna was used to provide as a collateral on Anchor, and the ST Luna was the auto compounding version where you just want to hold the ST token, you just want to auto compound your rewards, you just hold that. But if you want to use it in a protocol like Anchor, you need to convert to B Luna. But what we saw in that model is that.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you go back and explain there real quick? Did you say that SE Luna, you can claim the rewards manually, whereas B Luna, it would auto compound, making it kind of inherently deflationary? Is that correct?
I think it's the other way around.
Deflationary in the sense that it would be. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's the other way around.
Yeah. So B Juno, or B Luna, or B whatever, the Bs. So they don't change in value. I think they've got they've got a claimable reward, and the SE Juno is like an auto compounding reward. So when you look at the pool, the swap rate for SE Juno versus B Juno goes down over time. So at some point, like SE Juno will be worth more. Well, it is worth more now than B Juno. So the swap rate changes.
But only one of those can be used for lending and those types of things. So SE just keeps getting auto compounded, but B I can use for lending in the future and those types of things. Is that also part of that?
Yes. So you can do you can do lending with both of them, but the B version makes more sense for providing liquidity for a swap, because SE Juno, if there's SE Juno and Juno, after 1 year it's going to be a different exchange rate. So there's a fixed impermanent loss always that's associated with it. But if you continue.
Sorry, no, continue. No, please.
So the B Juno pair doesn't have any impermanent loss, because B Juno will always be 1:1 pegged with Juno. So if you provide liquidity through that pair, you will get no impermanent loss. But also you will not get any staking rewards, because now it's going to the contract, the LP contract that you're providing it to. So the better version here that we're implementing further is that when you provide liquidity for B Juno pair, you won't get any impermanent loss, but all the staking rewards we can redirect from our treasury back to the LP holders. So now, and this also, if we implement our own swap, we can do this compounded every 24 hours. So each LP token holders is also getting more B Juno rewards, so that for example, if you hold any B Juno, it's just like plain staking, where you don't have any B Juno, but you also have access to that 100 Juno, let's say, that you have staked. So you have to come every day, do a transaction of your claim and deposit again to auto compound. You can do the same with B Juno. But if, let's say, there's a swap that the contract does that for you, and now you're holding the LP tokens, which represents your B Juno, for which your staking rewards are being claimed every 24 hours. And so you are basically getting the staking rewards when you unstake your LP tokens. And now you're also not facing any impermanent loss. So that's the perfect solution I see, which is much better than the current liquidity solutions right now. And the SE Juno is the perfect solution for lending kind of things.
You're on mute.
No, you're muted.
Yeah. Okay. So I was going to say, actually, I had a question while you were talking, but I bloody completely forgot what it was. Sorry. Yeah, I was actually going to ask about the being able to collect those rewards. So what came to my mind as you were explaining was the contracts for this are like custodial, so you swap your Juno for a B Juno or SE Juno. So there's going to be quite a lot of Juno sitting in your contracts if people continue to use it. So I just wanted to know, like what have you been doing on your side for auditing and making sure of the security of the contracts? Is there some sort of process you go through on each iteration and before you go live, or is it at the moment, are you just sort of doing that internally, or?
So it's majorly just internally right now. We got an audit when we released on secret, but when I read the audit report, I was like, I
Waste of
could
time.
do better than this is.
Yeah.
So if the report just in conclusion was that, okay, you guys wrote a lot of integration tests, which helped us test it better. So I was like, okay, did you just run our test and that was the audit? So what we did when we released on Juno was that, okay, we added the B Juno model. So I think for a month and a half, both of us were just writing as much as tests we can. And so, as I mentioned earlier, so Polar also had one feature where it allowed you to do integration testing through the JS client. So currently, if you are building any Cosmos contracts, you can write unit tests in that Rust file itself. So these are the Rust tests that are running just for the contract, and it's not an instance of the contract that's deployed on a network. But you can, on your own, use the Cosm.js client and write your own assertions and tests when you integrate with, let's say, when you are interacting with the Juno testnet or even the mainnet. You can say assertions like, okay, now I instantiate with these parameters. If I execute this transaction, this should happen. So we built out a framework where it abstracts all of these things into a simple testing scripts where you don't have to like bootstrap all of the you don't have to define every time how the setup is going to be. So we use that, and we wrote a lot of integration tests for like every other day. I was just waking up and writing as much as tests I can. And so I thought it was just going to be a couple of weeks. But after a couple of weeks, I was like, it's going to be much more than that. So the more tests I was writing, I was like, okay, I was losing more confidence while I was writing the tests. But by the end of it, so all of the security is just internal to make sure that, okay, we have made sure that, okay, if one person is writing the contract, the part of the contract that's going to be tested by the another person. So that way we can just cover up the third party audit kind of thing, where we can say, okay, the person who's writing contract is not the one who's testing it. So it's a different context the other guy also has.
Yeah, okay. And so it's more of like an internal testing environment. Yeah, I mean, like, a different person is kind of like a third party, right? I mean, maybe the devs in the room have more of a like comment on that, but yeah, I mean, as long as, well, at least you're doing something, right?
Yeah, and there's a chance of loss, right? I mean, there is a chance that it isn't a contract, and there is a possibility of loss for those Juno holders, right?
So
contract could be
we do
compromised,
have
or those types of things.
we do have like a few like safety measures that we implemented. First is that if any of us find that, okay, there's something going on, phishing going on there, we can just immediately post the contracts through the admin call. We can also like we have a kill switch where like we just stop all of the processes, like no one can interact with the contract, and the contract will not further stake any tokens, and will also start to unstake all of the Juno tokens, and anyone who has staked their Juno through SE Juno or B Juno can also claim those. So those things are also implemented just to make sure that if in case anything goes wrong, we have the solution in place.
Right. Yeah, and I could see the problem with auditors. I think we've had this conversation a few times around just finding, I mean, smart. I mean, maybe Frey can talk about this as well, but finding capable.
Yeah, there's a special place in the Frey's heart for auditors.
Well, finding capable smart contract auditors that will stand behind that audit has to be a pretty short list, especially on the WASM side, right? It's new technology and everything else. Like that has to be a pretty short list of people that you would trust, including yourself. I think Frey's he's tuned out.
Yeah, he's like has a little smile every now and then, and he's like, "Nah, don't care."
I don't know if you trust yourself as a programmer, then that's your first mistake. I would say
that's yeah.
I guess we've been going through a period where we're getting ready for mainnet with the HAL contracts, and that's like surprisingly complex logic actually for the way the staking works because of the number of posts. I mean, even on the testnet, like it was tens and tens of thousands, 10,000 users, all that sort of thing, and it just like the amount of edge cases you drive out with that is fucking bananas, frankly. Like it, yeah. That was something we like. I came into that with a lot of faith that the Rust compiler would save us, and as somebody who gave up maths like the earliest time I could, like age 15 or whatever, 14, 15, whatever, I was like, it's whatever, like maths, no big deal. Just knock it together, write some unit tests, Rust compiler handles the rest.
Yeah.
Nope. Not when you get a weird overflow bug that causes something to roll back atomically, and you're like, okay, cool, no harm done. Potentially in a crazy scenario where that's like, oh, it's right at the end of an epoch, and at the end of the epoch, we do this calculation, and then this happened, and then it fails, and it goes, okay, whoa, hold this. I'm not going to do anything. I won't give that user those rewards. And then the epoch ticks over, and those rewards just got sent to the dark dimension or something. And you're like, well, technically, every component of the system did the thing it was told to do. It's just that you as a programmer told it to do the wrong fucking thing. But that edge case, this is what I've actually been thinking a lot about auditing this week, because we've been trying to track this one down, and about code reviews, because specifically I was trying to track down what problem was, because one of the dev who wrote that piece of code was in transit somewhere, and then had a family thing or something. I don't even, not important, but I had 4 days, basically broken days, to look at it, and in the end, I couldn't work out what was wrong in the time available, but I did find another bug that nobody else was aware of. And that just shows you that we live in a hellscape, and this is why we can't have nice things. Because what I found, basically, the fix for the bug in the end was that, and I had completely missed this because I just assumed, I looked at the setup for the unit test and went, that looks fine, and moved on. Something was 73 and it should have been 75, because that, long story short, that's the basic maths for how the blocks are set up in the unit test. So what was happening was it wasn't advancing an epoch and actually triggering the correct behavior. And if you did that, everything passed. It was fine. So there was actually no bug. And I tore my hair out for 2 days trying to isolate the bug that did not exist by rewriting loads and loads of Rust code that used mutes to be immutable, and replacing every single operation, every single math operation in the code base to like whatever, and messing around with all of the types and whatever. And it was none of that. There was no bug. But in doing
where the 1 million,
I have to say,
go then?
But in doing that, I found another bug, and the other bug. Right, accidentally, I changed all that shit, and then when I did that, the chaos test in like 1 in 3 times just did a massive like overflow, like a multiplication overflow, and it turned out that was just because of like the random. There's some random number generators in our unit test to be like, oh, just give this user 10 million and see what happens if they try and stake it and then pull it out, and this other user's doing this crazy thing. And then it was like, oh, nobody's ever going to have that much. It's not possible. And then we did some maths. It was like, oh yeah, the DAO will have this much at Genesis. And like, if in a hypothetical world, nobody really stakes very much for the first 20 days, let's say, and then the DAO elects to stake this amount, and then they gain rewards for 10. Yeah. Okay. That multiplication overflow will occur, and the contract will be bricked, and we'll never be able to recover it. And we were like, holy fuck, that's actually, but like 3 of us had looked at that code. 3 of us had worked on that code, and we knew it quite well. So this is a very long-winded way of saying, like, if we brought in an auditor,
there's no fucking way. What's the moral of the story? Like shit happens randomly, and then you find problems
Blockchain, man.
based on use, right? Like that's basically it. Your whole story is like.
Well, to be fair, actually, maybe the auditor would run some fancy piece of like code scanning, and it would go, "Oh,
the moral of the story is
this might overflow in a weird way that you're not expecting," because that is actually, to be fair, something that code scanning sometimes can do.
But then maybe? There's last week, Osmosis Hall did it, and Todd's first response was, "Dang, my code didn't, or like my linter didn't catch any of that," because he audited Osmosis. And so, like you said, those linting or those automated tests, it's just messed up sometimes.
Okay, so maybe it wouldn't catch it, maybe we'd be screwed. But anyway, so the moral of that story is that 2 days of my life was not wasted, but not for the reason I thought.
The moral of the story is don't hire shit coders on trains.
I wasn't on a train that time.
Oh, okay. In a plane? It seems equally as hard to code from.
To that point, Udit, did you guys run this on Uni on the Juno testnet? And like, how did you? I mean, Howell had the moral of that story also is that not to flex, right? Howell team, but they had a couple 10,000 people that are using that code in testnet to be able to try it out. Flex. But
the Howell team, the Howell.
Yeah. Like,
well, some were bots. Let's be real.
Let's be kind. 80% were bots.
Copy that from Twitter too. All right, so away from the bots, 8 people did decent testing on Howell and testnet, right? Okay, so and Udit, how did you guys? I don't remember seeing this, but I don't really follow the apps so much on Uni, even though we obviously run infrastructure for it. How did you guys test these pieces out? Did you guys do the same type of thing on Uni and just try to be able to run that structure in a organized testnet piece?
Yeah. So the first level of testing we do is through the local net. So there's a Docker image for Juno. So that we have integrated with Juno Kit, which is to let's say like currently if you want to deploy any contracts, most people do it through the CLI. They write every command that's one command to deploy this contract, one command to instantiate it. So let's say you have even I guess in Juno Swap, there's like 3 or 4 contracts you need to deploy and instantiate. So yeah, so what we do is that we abstract it that way on the tooling side. Now it's just that, we have contracts, we write compile, we write deploy to testnet, deploy to local net. So first we check on the local net, it's working fine, that whoever is developing it or debugging it. Then we go to Uni testnet. So we also ran the public testnet for a month and a half before releasing on the mainnet. Mm-hmm. And so one thing that happened was that most users who were testing it out assumed that it's an incentivized testnet.
Sure.
So all of them were just
where's my coins?
It was working fine and working well for me. Unstaking was not working somehow, but it's really good UX. So they were posting their address and their snapshot. And I was like, we didn't announce that it's an incentivized, but who's the one who's announcing it on our end? And we just saw some random people making videos saying that, if you want to get some rewards, just do these 3 steps and post it on their Discord and you'll get some rewards. But that was.
Oh, you had that as well. That was a fun one.
Seriously,
I totally saw when I was
and posting their address, and then they're like, task done, and you're like, there are no tasks.
Thanks.
There are no tasks.
Yeah.
I was browsing the Discord, and people are like, where are my fucking rewards, man? And I'm like, what are they going to do? Give you B Juno?
Anyone who's launching a chain, thinking about launching a chain, thinking about launching a project, never do an incentivized testnet.
It was
in the Cosmos. Never, ever. We're just laughing.
No, there's some irony here. I agree. No. Unfortunately, now I agree. But it used to be that an incentivized testnet made a lot of sense, right? You got a handful of validators. There was 15 of us. We would tombstone ourselves, get points for that, and then that was it. Now it's you have an incentivized testnet, and you have 17,000 people. The Aptos one, they had to shut down their testnet because they had something like 400,000 people burning through the faucet and stuff.
A day.
It's just insane now. A day.
Yeah, a day.
Now it just doesn't make sense anymore because you're not getting an effective data.
And we were just laughing about the Say testnet because the Say testnet, they had when it launched, I think we all had internal conversation about how like we know this is going to go a little bit off the rails because they had like 17 different tests and they wanted to have a form filled out for each person that's replying to that. And all I'm thinking about in the back end is like, this form is going to be filled out 85,000 times and nobody's going to look at it. Like, because once you get into it, it's totally unstructured data. It's free form field. You're fucked. Like, there's no way you're totally screwed. It's not like it's a Scantron, like from the 80s, right? Like it's a really free form data type of unstructured data type thing. And I'm looking at this like this is gonna be a mess. And sure enough, today, like there's huge arguing in this validator channel around my rewards and this and that. And like, hey, like just be happy to be part of it. Like we're not in it for the incentivized testnet rewards. We just want to be part of the chain for a long term. Like we're thinking 20 years, right? So I think
I'm just trying to hit those blocks, son.
Just want to get those blocks, son. That's it. I want to run infrastructure to get those blocks. That's it.
I'm just trying to get that 99.999. Fucking
That's right.
Impossible to get the hundo.
There is definitely like I feel like there definitely is like a little bit of an like there's definitely a cutoff point in experience, isn't there? Where you're an old man of Cosmos if you remember when it was hard to fill a validator set.
Yeah.
Like I remember
like last week.
There was like specifically a what's it called? There was a line I think in the original version of the CosmWasm docs that said something like, "We've got enough validators in our test nets," said nobody ever.
Yeah.
And then like by the time I think version 1 rolled around, I'm pretty sure that line got taken out because it was like that is no longer factually correct.
It's no longer
correct. I mean, for sure. When I started validating, go ahead.
Sorry, if you have a test net that you just want to run, it's hard to find people. If you have an incentivized bullshit test net, you will have 10,000 people.
So I think that they meant a pre-Genesis test net.
But is it though? I mean, we
only if it's incentivized. If it's not incentivized, you still will have like 10.
No, I don't think so. I think like even like we're running testnet nodes for a bunch, and like even that we can't get into sets because people are spamming the faucet and shit, and like either we get involved from a foundation perspective because somebody wants us to be involved, which is really nice. We want to be involved in those, but still, even not incentivized, you have a ton of. There's a lot of validator interest. I think the word's out that all you gotta do is spin up a Hetzner box and you're done, type of idea, which is totally not true. Don't get me wrong, it's not true. But anyway.
So what were you going to say?
Shuttles over here.
You just spawn up 75 VMs via Terraform script and you're done, right?
That is tragically my day today. I can't wait to see our fucking Jesus Christ. I'm moving everything into separate AWS accounts now, so I can at least know where the pain is coming from.
You can cry individually as every bill shows up in your inbox. Holy shit. How many more emails am I getting?
I only recently got around to being professional enough to split into 2 accounts, and that was already shocking enough. So I can't wait to see what happens when everything is split out. Because you get a message as well, like they send you this like push notification. They're like, hey, here's your bill. And you're like, and in the push notification, it tells you the number. You're like,
oh, it does. That's funny.
Like, oh, motherfucker. And
you might get it.
Split them out. They come separately. So it's the same number, but somehow it feels worse because the first one arrives and invariably like the smallest one arrives first. And you're like, oh, yeah, all that restructuring I did was really good. And really optimizing those instances. That's the years of cloud consulting right there. Not a fucking sucker giving all your money to Jeff Bezos. And then like the next one rolls in and it's just like, oh no, there's all the other money. No, yeah, we're fucked. Yeah, that's a lot of money.
You might get
restructuring resulted in 2 bills.
I'm not to that point yet. My having different accounts for AWS is I use a different region for what I'm using. Like this is what's doing this. I'll choose a different region, follow it that way. That's good enough.
That's good enough.
I honestly cannot fucking figure out AWS at all. Like I got this random 10-cent bill from them and I couldn't figure out what it was for. I was clicking for about fucking an hour and a half.
Lambda? Oh no, I think Lambda's base cost is 56 cents, isn't it?
I just closed the account and didn't pay them 10 cents. So
I think the Frey gets a 10-cent bill.
Have a bill collector.
Frey gets a 10-cent bill for actually opening the bill. That's how much it costs.
10 cents. That's cheap.
That's cheap. Are you kidding me? That's too funny.
I think it was for something dumb like just having an account for a like having a user or something for like a space, like an S3 space. I think
Could
I
be.
had a user for an S3 space,
Oh, you
and
have
they
an
like
I am
charged me
user?
for that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I am users you charge for now.
Yeah.
How do you think they make their money?
but I
Everything's
was
you
not
charge
using any service at all. It was just that
Well, you're using I am.
there was some configuration somewhere that they charged me for. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I don't know what
how it
IAM
works.
is, man. I don't use AWS. I was poking around on the free tier, on the
Yeah.
shit tier, and then
You
started
poke
getting
too far.
charges.
You're like the dwarves in Moria. You poke too far and too deep.
Obscure reference for 500.
Not that. It's not
Lord of the
obscure.
Rings is an obscure what?
Lord of the Rings, the most popular fantasy series of all time.
Is this going to devolve into a movie podcast again?
Look, I've actually got more questions for Udit,
I'm going to
so
stop.
Yeah, let's do it.
I've already brought it back to
Go,
movies.
please.
I'm going to shut up now.
Yeah, you invariably get there, no matter what. It's your track. You start somewhere, you go in story time for a little bit, then we're back on movies. It's invariable. Anyway, so back to so how do you control the distribution of stake, Udit? Because I noticed I've been looking at it as you've added new people, and it seems that when you're adding new people, you're assigning all of the distribution of stake to go to those people for a bit, and then I guess you have to like flick a switch at some point to start distributing it back to the others. So is the plan to have sort of 10 for the time being and then just evenly distribute it through those validators?
So it's kind of a trade-off where, like, if any user comes, let's say it's always going to be 1/10 for 10 validators, always. So the contract is doing 10 transactions every time to stake to all of these. So what we did, we came to a middle ground where like we'll have a sort of equal distribution, but most of the time it's just going to stick to one validator. All of the so every 24 hours, the user doesn't directly stick to the validator. It first comes to a contract, and the cron job stakes it to the validators. So the user just have to pay the transaction fees for sending the Juno over. And then it just works like if the total amount for that 24 hours is more than T by like the TVL by N. So for instance, N is 10. If it's more than 1/10 of the current total value staked, then it will be distributed in all of these 10. But if it's less than that, then just stake with the least one. So that it'll go up.
And does it stake with the one with the lowest amount, or is it like a round robin type thing?
So it's the stake with the lowest one.
Okay, so it's just always, if it's less than 10% of the total amount staked, it'll always just stake with the lowest one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Did you pick those first 10 based off like hairstyles or those types of things, or how did Kingnodes get into that mix? We want to understand and what we could do better.
That was a good fit.
It was just like two things we considered. One is the fees amount. Like we wanted it to be between 5 to maybe 7 or 8%. Because below 5, it doesn't make sense because the infrastructure won't be that good enough because like you are not getting any commissions. So there's that risk of them being down. If it's more than 7 or 8%, then the reward amount won't be good enough for the end user. And the second thing we looked at, which one of these we see are also actively part of the community or like doing something, or like people know that who these validators are. So there's more trust in that.
And right now you're limiting it to 10, or are you thinking about maybe 13?
So
how about 13? 13's a good lucky number.
I mean,
12, because 13's unlucky and we're 10%.
You're at 10%.
I mean, it is basically our crew plus Don.
there is.
Wait, Don's not in the crew?
Don's in the crew.
The crew.
Yes. Yeah.
People are like, what?
And why do you Udit, why do you limit to a certain percentage of the validator set? Like, is there anything that maybe I don't understand the mechanics of it enough from a contract perspective? why even limit it at all? I assume you have to worry about validators dropping out of the set. That might be an issue, right? In terms of that piece of it. But other than that, what's the reason for 10 versus 100?
So it's part of that. Okay, all of the validators in the network are not going to perform well all of the time. So you as a user don't want to be exposed to any kind of risk that you didn't do, or like if a validator gets jailed, you are not the one who was doing the actions to get that validator jailed, but your stake was also cut off because you staked with that validator. And so our thesis was that we'll choose that set that can perform the best in the long run. So the user doesn't have to choose the validator which is the best, or most of the, let's say, the retail users who are coming from centralized exchanges, they just see the list of the names of validator. They don't know anything else. So there's also this Nakamoto coefficient which says that what's the least number of validator that needs to have more than 50% share. So this needs to be as much large as possible. So we also kind of want to increase that with our set. So we choose some from the bottom, some from the middle, some from the top. And we also want to make sure that if we choose some from the bottom, those are not the ones who are going to go down, because they don't have much of the stake and much of the experience in validating. And so the rough thesis is that we just want to make sure that nothing goes wrong. And the set that's been chosen is the one that's performing the best out of all of the validators in the network.
So what is your failover if someone either leaves the set permanently or like tombstones? Is there any sort of handling for that?
Yes. So there's a redelegation that you can do every 28 days. So the mechanism is also in there, like whenever any validator goes out of the set, we immediately restake that to a new validator. And there's also one more approach we are going to be soon implementing, is that every 28 days, we'll just update most of the set completely. So let's say in our case, if we have 10 validators, but according to our parameters, 20 or 30 validators fit that perfectly. So we can kind of like switch between each of the 10 from these 30 every 28 days. So it's kind of also giving all of the validators the amount and also like circulating through them.
Sounds like honestly a pretty cool community service. And Noel, you're muted again.
We heard you say
from a technical perspective, what's the maximum you could actually have? I mean, I know there's like some concerns about how that fits together with decentralization and stuff, but by only including validators that are sort of known to be good, aren't you really basically going on validator marketing? Because it's not like you're auditing their setups, right? So to some extent, what this actually is like which validators sort of, and look, we do a podcast obviously, and it's not because, I mean, it's partly because we would be shit talking on a private call at this time on a Wednesday anyway, but it's, it's partly marketing, obviously, that's part of what we do here. It's not fully altruistic, our shit talking.
Not very well.
But, well, yeah, we're really shit. The irony is that we do this actually in spite of the fact we're quite shit at marketing it.
Really not very well.
But whatever. Okay. But the point is, like, at least we conceptually, even if we can't execute on it, we conceptually understand the importance of being out there in the space and making noise, if you like. I mean, if that's has to be pretty much the definition of what I do anyway. But the danger there is like in terms of pure, it's the difference between, like, I guess how much I probably talk on this podcast compared to Usurper, right? Who is actually the better node operator. That is, I think, the crux of the point that I'm trying to get at, which is that isn't there a danger here of, like, if you pick validators primarily that are known in the community or who are sort of very visible and active, they're often actually, not what they've demonstrated is marketing now. So they haven't necessarily. It's quite hard to actually, and this is the problem with a lot of I grant, this is the same problem with all of those validator ranking conversations that go nowhere because they're fucking pointless. I do get that, but it's very, very hard to actually assess the technical.
I'm going to stop you because when you look at the validators that they've actually got here, they're not marketers. These ones aren't. It's not the case. Like,
I disagree hard on that. What are you talking about?
Look at number 7, Kingnodes.
I will ask you, what does Don Cryptomium primarily do? I obviously love the Don.
Let me rephrase. For the most part, for the most part, these aren't
you got Oni, you got Golden Ratio,
Oni,
you
and
got
Don.
Well, Golden Ratio.
Community.
Golden
you got
Ratio doesn't market; he just
Highlander?
talks a lot. They're not marketing.
Highlander,
Twitter
yeah.
Spaces?
What?
Yeah, Highlander.
Well, you're saying they're all.
You're
You're saying they're all. Yeah,
Highlander's
but they're not
marketing,
out
though.
there like fucking. They're not. I'm like
well, Highlander's
marketers
a better
at
marketer than
08.
we are, mate.
Well, yeah, but
yeah,
put it
like-
that
out
list
there.
that list is long and distinguished of
Validators
of groups that are
marketing
better marketers than
in
we
this
are.
room. Fair enough.
Fuck off. PokerChew doesn't do shit. I don't do shit.
All right,
Pull-
no. So
Come
actually, you literally somebody from Kingnodes literally is in the Juno chat, constantly helping people. That is that is
true.
like one of the most effective marketing strats in the whole of the cosmos. So,
Well, it doesn't work. I'll tell you that.
well, apparently it does.
Yeah,
apparently it does. Sorry,
and to be clear, like them being marketers doesn't mean they're bad. It's just that I think the statement of them being not being marketers is.
I'll tell you what.
I would say the majority of these are.
My directive to Joseph is help people. Do not tell people to stake with us.
Sure.
I said just be visible and help.
Look. In this limited instance, like I know that I am the Naomi Klein advocate here. Obviously, I have a conceptual and philosophical problem with marketing that has been well established. But
There's a
in this
difference between
particular-
doing very little and doing absolutely nothing.
But in this particular instance, I'm not using marketing as some kind of Trojan horse for disapproval. I'm not using it to say I think this is bad or morally improper. I'm just stating a factual thing.
All I
is that
heard was these are all
some
shit validators that market. That's all I
What-
heard.
what
I
I'm
felt like
saying-
it was a personal attack.
What
Well,
I'm
hold on
saying
though.
is-
Like, go. Yeah, give me 1 second. Also, go. Then you go. So, I mean, one point to be made. I'm a fan of Oni. Obviously, Kevin's great, but they've only been in the Juno set for the last couple of months, right? And so they don't have the proven history that, like, a lot of other people.
Lavender.Five
Do. So, like, why would they be? Why would they be on the list, right? I don't think they shouldn't be on the list. To be clear, I'm just saying that, like, clearly that's because of marketing, then, because they now are known, even though they've been on the list less. Like in the
Well, let's just ask Udit. What was the selection of Oni?
Jeez, that's an uncomfortable spot to put him in. Why the
Hold on,
fuck
I
are these
tuned-
people
I
on this
literally-
list?
I tuned out for 10
Jesus.
seconds to double check the list, and then I tuned back in. It's just like, why is Oni not on this? What did you guys do?
No, he is on the list.
I literally flicked over
Did
to
you even look
Midscan
at the
for 5
fucking list?
seconds, and you guys have organized like a witch hunt.
That
Do
was
I-
that was
do I
really
need to
Schultzy,
constantly
actually. It was
be,
mostly
like,
it was mostly
not-
It was
Schultzy.
It was Schultz.
No.
Schultz was going
I'm
after
totally
Kevin.
fine with Kevin being on the list. I think Oni's great. I'm
Schultzy.
just saying.
Schultzy,
Don't cancel me.
Wow.
Don't cancel me.
Well,
Supposed to be the wholesome one. What are you doing, man? You can't.
No, the point I was making was that, like, he's been like on the Juno Validator set for less time. So, like, it's a point towards it's a marketing thing. I'm not saying he shouldn't be on the Stake Easy list in any way, shape, or form. Just saying that like it's a point in the favor of this is a marketing example, not as much a.
What about
experience
PokerChew?
example.
Does virtually nothing.
Well, I mean, if there's
Friend of
one
the show.
person in the cosmos who deserves a lot more than
No
pretty
shit.
much all of us, it's PokerChew. Let's be
No
honest.
shit.
I agree with that. Full stop.
No shit.
You could
So
probably
it's
just
really-
actually do a liquid staking that was just PokerChew, and that would pan out
I mean,
fine.
he is
Yeah,
the
no one would
poster,
complain.
poster
Yeah,
child
nobody
of
complain. I'd be like, yeah,
yeah.
I'll stake with that. Unstake from Needlecast, whoever the fuck they are.
I-
Poker.
to put like
Poker,
Poga's in the
poker.
same place that we are. Like his marketing, like what I'm not gonna talk about his marketing, but he has saved the bacon of every fucking validator on this list and of every other chain. He is the unsung hero of validators that doesn't turn into delegations. Only
I don't
rarely
know, man.
when
He
projects see
doesn't
it.
really. He doesn't have like the unfuck my node tombstone recovery tool yet.
And when he does, he'd still get no fucking delegation.
He would, yeah, exactly.
That is his lot in life.
He does honestly. The good part about his contributions is that it has been recognized, I think, by most chain operators and those types of things. So like he's in decent standing on every chain, which is really good. If he was in the 149th out of all these types of chains, that'd be sad. But that's not the case.
And
that's good.
It's been recognized with grants as well.
Yes.
By the way.
Yeah, and it should be. It should be like it has saved the bacon of, like I said before, of
the entire cosmos.
In one chain or another, at some point in the other, I think almost every validator has taken advantage of the solutions that he's delivered, right? So
well, every chain hold, it's like, so Pokey, you got
so
some
where's
of those
that
snaps,
where's
bro?
that snap?
Yeah.
Where's that snap,
like that? You got that recently pruned snap, dog?
right. It's totally true.
Yeah, it is. It is 100%.
How come all these conversations either come back to Polkachu or Schultze shitting on Oni, right? That's really the two things.
Polka's fucking great.
I'm kidding.
Like, Polka is 100% the dude.
I know. It's good.
Polka abides. Anyway.
Right, I have another question. So,
yes.
Udit, so what is the, like, in your opinion, what's the better solution for liquid staking? Is it contract or is it chain? And what do you think, like, the key differences are?
Yeah, that's a good question. So contracts, I would say, like, both of them I see have pros and cons, but overall, a better solution I would say is the chain one. Given that you can like manage the development side of things of that. Because with chain, you have more flexibility. You can optimize on the chain level. That's saying that, okay, it's just going to be for liquid staking. I can optimize it. And also, if in future, for instance, if Juno, let's say, scales to the scale that Ethereum has, then Ethereum sometimes, let's say, OpenSea has some NFT drop and the whole network has to pay a lot of fees because of just this NFT drop. But if it's just a chain, then you won't have these kind of issues happening. And you also have to rely on the underlying network if it's the contract that they are also going to maintain it well. But on the flip side, if the chain itself is being maintained by really good developers, then you just have to worry about the contract side of things and not just the whole underlying. You don't have to understand how Go works and how the Cosmos SDK works. So it's lesser work on the contract side, much faster cycle, but it's less things in control. So if you can maintain the development side of things, definitely the chain side. But if you're low on resources, then the contract side. But from the end user's perspective, both are going to work the same functionality wise. Like in our case, for instance, we just are providing liquid staking for Secret and Juno because these two have Cosmos of contract support. But if in future, let's say we want to support liquid staking for Atom, which doesn't have Cosmos, we can utilize the interchain accounts. And if Juno is one of the controller chains, then what we can do is that anyone can bring their Atom to Juno and they can stake that Atom with stakeeasy, and the will basically use the interchain accounts to send that Atom over back to Cosmos Hub and stake it and issue the SE Atom to the user. So functionality wise, it will be exactly the same. Muted again.
Is there any like speed advantage of one or the other? I guess one is natively on the chain, right? Well, you know, Cosmosm's on the chain, and then the others are probably, I'm assuming, communicating over IBC. I don't know too much about the chain solutions. Does anybody else?
I mean, speed, I don't think unless it's a DEX, speed is not that much of an issue. Because for liquid staking, you just stake and you just take your asset somewhere else. And it just depends on what the utility is. For example, if you want to provide liquidity on Osmosis for SC Juno, and you want to trade SC Juno, the Osmosis chain needs to be fast, not the stakeeasy kind of.
Yeah, totally.
And also on the validator selection side. So yeah, it's currently very incomplete solution because like we are just selecting based on like who's out there. But in the long run, like I saw in Terra, some guys did try last year too. So you can first use on-chain data, and second you can maybe find out and communicate with the validators. Okay, are you using any monitoring, or are you using any kind of alerting system, or do you have any backup nodes, things like that. And maybe you can verify those things and put that out there to the end user. and say that, okay, here's the stakeeasy DAO community, and here's the data that we have found and verified, so that it will help you make better decision. And then the DAO can vote whether this validator should go in or not. And you can also use on-chain data, like in the last 6 months, how many blocks did it skip, and how many times did the validator vote. So
I don't look forward to when you switch it to a DAO, because then I think it'll just become a popularity contest.
Yeah.
You'll get OA.
So yeah, that's why I mentioned that it's going to be assisted by the data, saying that, let's say, if someone puts out the vote saying that, okay, here's a validator which is not part of active set, now we want to vote whether we should include it or not. So there should be like checks in place in the DAO where saying that, okay, if the validator does not qualify for these using this data, then even if the community votes yes, it won't go in the active set, right?
Oh, okay, so it's like controlled by background data. Yeah.
Yep.
So like a checks and balances on, you know, people just trying to have a popular vote to put someone in.
Yeah.
Dude, I really appreciate you coming on. Like, I think it's got a lot of potential. Obviously, with what's going on within Juno and Secret, and I know you guys are looking at both Cosmos and Osmosis coming up as well, right? With kind of a different structure, like you mentioned, but similar, trying to offer the same type of product, right? So thanks for being here.
It really seems like you have put like a lot of thought into it as well, and not just like YOLO'd some shit together and put it out there.
Like this podcast.
Yeah, like this podcast where we inadvertently shit on ourselves. What is it? What is the Frey doing, man? He's just like got the weirdest like expressions.
Whenever we talk DeFi, that's the look that
stable coins and
it's exactly the same look, just staring at the horizon.
We've established that I bailed on maths at an early age for good reason.
So when he starts talking about bloody dev shit, I was like,
Yep.
So yeah, thanks a lot for having me, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, man, we really do appreciate you coming on and clearing those things up with us and just talking through the protocol. And I think we're probably at the time where we're going to move into our next part of the show. Yeah. So we're not going to dump you on your ass. So thank you for coming on. You're like the first person who's been thanked for coming on.
Thank you so much. I learned a lot, and I really appreciate it.
Yep, same.
All right. Catch you later, man. Thanks.
We're getting better at the transitions. Somewhat better at the transitions.
That was relatively pro, except
that was all right.
Whatever happened there with you double clicking the transition by the look of it.
Yeah, it was okay.
Well, I clicked it and it didn't work, so I clicked it again, and then I clicked it again. And then I clicked it again.
I can click it.
Like, so that's a demonstration of what happens when you know your internet is bad, and when you repeatedly, send what's presumably an AJAX call over to the streaming software. Whatever. Anyway,
I'm on the Wi-Fi. All right.
StreamYard's like, what the fuck is going on? How many times does he want this video?
They're just like YOLO, whatever he can have. Once it's 5 times, he can have it 5 times.
That's right.
My setup is basically the Frey on a train right now. I'm like tethered to my phone,
getting that
through.
So whose house are you at then? Because clearly you're like,
did you break
in
into
an
that
Airbnb
place?
or someone's house or something?
Did you just break in to find a spot?
Yeah, what happened here?
Is that
a really nice place? It is like.
That is a nice place. Look at that.
Yeah.
Whose house did you break into?
This is my weekend, man.
They don't let you use their Wi-Fi?
I don't know the password. So I've come to Brisbane for a few days to go to Oktoberfest on the weekend. So
Oktoberfest.
Yeah, Oktoberfest, man. The Brisbane version.
So there's going to be a chain halt on Saturday night your time. Call it now, everybody. Set your watches. To halt anything. Yeah,
in Brisbane.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Cool. So this house is a secret.
It's cool.
No, it's my partner's parents' place. So
oh, nice.
I don't know where they are, but
Nice.
We just stopped in here.
Doxed.
We've got a place in Brisbane, but it's rented at the moment, so we can't stay there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
Would like
What
to
else
have
is-
like a better one, like on the river or something, but we're not billionaires, so
Jeez.
Brisbane,
That-
just
Not
Brisbane
yet. There's
problems.
time.
That beautiful view and deck not good enough for you?
no, I mean like the other place.
Oh, okay. All right, just checking.
But oh man, the real estate in Brisbane has gone fucking mental in the last couple of years.
Is it? Is that people moving
Yeah.
out of Sydney and other types of things?
No, it's just that like COVID bullshit and the
Oh.
interest rate's been really low, and I don't know, everyone just being irrational. And then, so you used to be able to buy a house for 600 grand in the suburbs, and now it's like over $1 million
Jeez.
for like no more value. So, but it's all, I think the property market's crashing a little bit at the moment because everyone's
it's all
shoving those interest rates up.
Yeah, exactly. It's all
Yeah,
going to kind of rug itself naturally over time. I think in the next few months,
hope
there's
so.
going to be a
But-
pretty serious contraction in the property market, probably.
But
That's
it's
what, I
Juno-
want to buy a house, so that's what I'm waiting for that.
By
I'm
the
like,
time-
I need it to crash a lot, please.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a man in an attic. It's now winter. This is the warmest room in the house. I'm living the dream.
Your attic is attached to like a rest of a house, though.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, by the time you kind of by the time you're in the attic working, you could be anywhere in the world. It's kind of fine. The main thing you need in life is like a big Starship Enterprise-y wraparound desk. That's all I'm saying. Like, you need to have achievable goals. Like,
Have you considered doing
Riverview?
like?
What am I going to do with the Riverview? I work all the time. Like, but an extra
I
monitor.
don't look past my monitor anyway.
Well, yeah, I've got a big monitor here. It's right in front of my face. I've got there's some cool shit over here, which is obviously off camera. There's some cool shit here, and there's like a big desk, and
If you say so.
yeah,
Is there a window there?
Sharp lighting.
there's a window just
Up?
where my hand is there. Like,
You can see the sky. So you know if it's raining or sunny, right? But it's always raining, right? So
well, yeah, it's
that's
always
kinda-
raining in Manchester. You don't have to
That's
ask
right.
that question.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
Oh shit, dogs.
Beer's
Well,
always
Spider-Man,
warm and
sorry.
it's always raining.
It's raining.
Yeah, well, I live in the northwest of England, as well established, so it's always raining all the time.
Perfect. What else is going on in the cosmos this week?
Oh man, it's been like, I think it's been fucking
Quiet?
quiet. Like, besides
What are you talking about?
No, hear me out.
Okay.
Besides the 1 million chain upgrades this week, I think it's been relatively quiet on like, Twitter and chats and shit. It doesn't
Yeah.
seem to have been very like, put it this
I think
way.
that's-
Usually when I wake up in the morning, it takes me an hour and a half to like catch up with all the shit that went on overnight.
Mhm.
And now at the moment, I can catch up in probably 15, 20 minutes. So
I think I would generally agree with that. I think that the big thing right now is there's been a lot of discussion around Atom 2.0 right now. I just got added to a Telegram group for the new Atom governance chat. Like, Jacob's been talking about it a lot. I think it's been so focused on that everything feels quieter. At least that's my read on it anyway.
I think there's a lot of people at Cosmosm and they're all just there, like, talking to each other IRL. So
What does that mean?
Yeah.
in real life,
I know what IRL means.
No,
of course
it's
they all
not-
met and they're in real life. Like, do you mean
Are they
like
still there?
yeah,
I
it's
hope
like,
not.
there's Hack Wasm going on as well. And after
was that 2 weeks ago? Or was that
I
last
think
week?
that ended a couple of days ago.
Did it?
Oh, was it?
Still quiet.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about Atom 2.0. I'm not an Atom validator, so maybe that's the difference. I
mean,
don't
yeah,
care about Atom.
The IBC the USBC USDC. Jeez, how many acronyms? USDC announcement is pretty cool. I know it's not till Q1 next year. It seems like Circle's driving that a bit, which is
Did
kinda
we
neat.
not call that just a couple of weeks
We
ago?
did. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
we did. Although I think did we call it an ad? We didn't call it as, in terms of an interchain security structure.
No, what happened was we were talking about bridges, and I said they're shit, and that they should just have USDC native,
Native.
and then
And they were watching
heard
this
it.
and they were like, write that down.
That's
Write that down. That's brilliant.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
We want you, null memes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I don't think that would have been the way that we would have implemented it, but I'm glad it's coming.
They could have hit me up. I would have helped them out.
Yep.
Yeah.
They didn't. They weren't thinking about null enough. Everyone should be thinking about null more.
I mean, I pick a lot of things that are up and coming and not yet announced, right? I feel like people are just stealing my ideas now.
Could be.
I mean, wouldn't you agree? Do we have anything on the list to talk about this week? I mean, we've kind of exhausted roundabout.
I guess
think it's an exhausted week.
Some things have come out of Hackwasm, which are quite interesting. There's the mesh security demo thing, which is kind of interesting.
So I didn't go to Hackwasm, and I didn't watch most of the Cosmoverse streams because it was, I was a bit disappointed that I couldn't sit there and watch it with everyone else and then drink beer. So it was, too emotionally damaging for me to sit there and watch all of them. So can you give us the TLDR on the mesh security? It's like a WASM solution, right? To some sort of securing of things. Hit me with it. I didn't read about it. I feel dumb now.
Well,
I need to know.
We're supposed to have Sunny on in a couple of weeks, right? So maybe
we can always talk about it then.
Yeah, I asked him to come on and give us the TLDR and just what the hell
literally
it is.
that question. So let's just, I guess, pick it up then.
We can. I think that's good to say. I do want to understand it a little bit better because it seems like it's a solution that multiple chains can use, right? Including Juno as a mesh security hub, the way I understand it. But again, I don't understand it well enough to understand.
I think it's all just. They're all just sovereign areas that you can pull your security from. But
right.
I think the notion there is more that you can iterate that solution very, very quickly using CosmWasm and IBC, whereas it's maybe harder to do that using ICS or something like that. That's my very dumb understanding of it is it's essentially what some of the things that were proposed as the ideas in motion for ICS version 2.
Yeah.
Which is pulling arbitrary subsets of validator sets individually or together as security layers, which is pretty interesting. But I don't know the complete technical details of it because, frankly, I've been working 24 hours a day for the last 7 days or 10 days or whatever, and it just watching Cosmos talks was not what I wanted to do in any of the free time that I had. I just didn't want to do it. Want to do anything else. Watch Lord of the Rings. That was good. Rings of Power.
Oh, the Rings of Power is good. Hang on, but on the mesh, right? So they're working on that at Hackwasm or whenever Hackwasm was on, right? And I gather that it is going to be pretty abusive on relayers because Max Juno has been asking me for a lot of fucking new Juno X to cover relay fees. So
oh yeah, so interchain accounts, interchain security is insanity. So one of the reasons why interchain accounts didn't come out earlier is because there wasn't a system involved for how to actually do those transfers. So right now, interchain accounts for every channel, and a channel is between Juno and Osmosis, every single account needs a new channel, and there's no way to facilitate that. So what that means is there's going to be orders of magnitude more transactions. I talked with the ICF about this quite a while back, and I'm like, it's a completely untenable solution until there's some way to pay relayers, because even right now, that's our number one expense is relaying by a pretty wide margin.
Really?
Yeah, and so you need to be able to cover those fees. Yeah.
Yeah, and so if it goes up 100x, which it would, if not more, there's just no way. And yeah.
So that's what.
So that is definitely a problem that I picked up with the amount of Juno they were asking for relay fees. I'm like, this seems like a lot of fees. You were paying for that.
We sent quite a few from the Faucet as well, and it was okay.
Yeah, so for context, just adding the connection between Atom and Stride costs us more than a quarter of an atom per day. So that's only right now $3 or $4, whatever this right now.
Good.
At the start, it was a little over 1 atom per day, but that's only one connection. Going to osmosis, it just kills everything. Like for a while, we were spending something like 3,000 secret a month for just the secret osmosis connection.
That's crazy.
So this is the dirty thing about the Cosmos that no one really seems to be. Is anyone working on fixing this? Because it seems mental. Like
absolutely, there's some middleware being developed such that when you use a relayer, then you add a fee on top. Because right now, you pay the fee, and people assume that fee then goes to the relayer, right? The relayer doesn't get any fee, right? That fee that you're paying that you're relaying, that goes to the validator set or whatever validator that proposes the block. They don't get the relayer gets absolutely nothing.
Right.
The fee should just be incorporated in IBC transfers. It should be in the module.
Yeah.
It's almost like a bridge structure, right? Like where that bridge is that how they do it in the bridge piece, where like that relayer or whoever's in the bridge kind of portion takes that fee structure. So I would assume that even if it was Cosmosm, they would be able to restructure that contract to change the fee structure associated with that. That can't grow like that, right? It doesn't make any sense.
Yep. No, you're absolutely correct. And originally, it was actually a design decision to not pay relayers because that was a huge marketing point for IBC, right? Mm-hmm. Look how cheap it is. You can send from
it's free.
Yeah. You can send between Atom and Osmosis for nothing. How much does it cost to go between Bitcoin and Ethereum? $50 or whatever. And so it was a decision to not pay relayers, but that then means that we relayers are paying huge amounts.
Yeah.
So Rama says that in IBC v4 pays relay to Nestivepli.
I'm guessing that's natively.
I'm guessing that's relayers natively. Yeah.
That's a upside down Australian.
It's early for him,
situation.
man. He's lucky he can actually type.
Yeah.
It's like 9 o'clock. 9 a.m.
Yep.
Probably clawing at coffee right now.
Yeah, so we asked Sonny to come on, so we just have to schedule it and have him come on and talk a little bit more about at least the mesh security piece, because I think that the current structure of each number one, does everything need to be a chain? The question to that is probably no, but when there are chains, do they absolutely need a native validator set? The probably is answer no, but ICS I'm not really a big fan of the way it's structured, at least for V1. Also, since I'm not an Atom validator, I'm also biased that way. But even the way it's even structured for Atom validators, I don't think that set is necessarily balanced correctly, etc.
Guys, do you realize that we've been doing this for like half a year now?
31 episodes. I know.
31 episodes. It's like 7 months.
Wow.
And do you know when it hit me, like, we've done a lot of episodes, is the other day when you said, yeah, we'll have to get Sonny back on. I was like,
yeah,
have we had Sonny on?
Yeah, it was a while
I've been
ago,
on every episode, man. I don't remember. Is that long ago?
You have been on every episode.
It was on like my week off. I had like a week off in June.
No, you're the only one that's been on every single week. That's something. You're the Pikachu of Game of Nodes.
That's
insane.
insane.
That is an achievement. Absolutely.
Considering how stretched my fucking schedule is.
I know. Where do you get time to cut that hair like that?
I've got people.
I got people. Come to the house.
If we're talking about haircuts, I need to talk about my new haircut because it was one of the worst haircutting experiences I've ever had in my life.
Tell us.
There was a new guy that cut my hair. I'm totally fine with that. I enjoy it. Like, if something goes sideways, I can just shave my head and I don't care. This guy, he was really serious about this haircut. And he would, when he would cut each hair, he would, pin his hand down and, hold the comb really strictly. And so I'm, getting smashed into the side of the chair for every cut. And he had, the focused tongue out, for every single one. And so by the end, after literally an hour and a half haircut, and, this is basically just a shave, my neck was tight. I had to get a massage because, I was cranked up. It was a whole ordeal.
Fucking around. They don't fuck around with it down there.
Yeah, man. That's on the island. Oh, Schultzy, mate. Fucking, how is the island now after the hurricane?
Today is day 1 with power. So I have been...
Congrats.
18 days without power. And water.
Jesus.
Still don't have water, but I have power.
Really? Water's out.
You've been fighting with your neighbors over the solar, right?
I would talk about that, but They're like 8 feet from me, so I'm not gonna touch. So yes, but I'm not gonna.
Schultz, you need coming from a secret location just to shit talk your neighbors.
Well, so here's the thing about Puerto Rico, that one of the few things that I really don't like is that the houses aren't insulated at all. So like if I talk, the people that are like 50 yards over that I can see 50 yards away, they can hear me and I can hear them.
It's all it's either a concrete or like whatever. So there's very little absorbing materials, right? This is the same thing like in Mexico where you could be in a house and you could talk on one side of the house and like the other side of the house you could hear everything because it's all tile and concrete and everything else, right? It all bounces.
Is this because of like a lack of availability of those types of materials, or?
Well, I mean, for hurricanes, if you built like a normal studded house, it'll just get knocked right over, right? Like that's
okay. So that they are actually concrete, yeah.
So they're actually concrete, yeah. And like the windows, they are pretty small panes so that each one can break because they probably will break. And it doesn't cost a lot to replace them. They can just slide it out and slide a new one in. It's not a big deal. Yeah. What that means is like there's not double pane windows, right? Because you just have the one sleeve. Yep. And with that, you also have the windows open most of the time to get that airflow going because most places don't have air conditioning. So you just have fans basically blowing through the house.
Right.
So earlier you're talking about hearing AC. That was just my fan that was just on high blowing air through the house because otherwise it just becomes a sauna because it's, 80, 90 degrees and 80, 90% humidity. So combine those things and you can hear just everything all the time. One thing that's cool is Puerto Rico has these frogs called the coqui, and they are crazy loud. I love the sound of frogs. I enjoy it. But Cassie, my fiance, every night she's like, wow,
shut
they
the
started.
Fuck up.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
And Schultz, what is the schedule for you moving back to the States? It's on the cards,
and
right?
what address specifically are you moving back to? In which place? Which state? Zip code? That would be really useful to know. I think the viewers would be interested to know.
Yeah, how well attached to your fingernails.
Yeah. So we are moving back. We'll be back on the 27th. But really, the big thing was the dogs. In Puerto Rico, there's just like a different opinion of dogs there and like how to raise them. And so when we would bring our dogs basically anywhere, people didn't like it because there's wild dogs everywhere. And so they kind of assumed that like your dogs are also going to be like kind of feral.
Yeah.
And so we'd go on a beach and people would get angry at us for having them. Like we'd go for a walk and people would like yell at us for it. And so having two big dogs and it doesn't mesh with our lifestyle. Everything else I can deal with fine, but not being able to like let our dogs outside and go on a walk with them, go enjoy beaches with them, that's where it gets to be too much.
That's too bad.
And I don't even blame the people at all because I've seen the dogs. You go to a beach and there are, Rincon is where I live is a pretty like it's like prime tourist territory in Puerto Rico. This is where all the surfers go. This is where like the World Surfing Championship in like the 90s was. A lot of surfers here, a lot of tourists. Even on these beaches, you're probably going to see 10 or more dogs on a quarter of a mile stretch of beach. Wild dogs, that is. Yeah. So it makes sense, but it sucks. So 3 weeks is when we'll be back in Oregon.
That's so 3 weeks from now. Yeah, okay. So that sounds very much like a Bali vibe with just like wild ass dogs everywhere, and everyone. The same with the cows. There's cows just wandering the fucking street.
So in Puerto Rico, it's horses. You see horses everywhere, everywhere. Yeah.
Just chilling.
Just chilling, just having a great time of it. Well, not all of them. Some of them.
Are they wild horses?
Not wild horses, no. But they are just roaming about.
There is actually sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I definitely, like in Bali, I don't know who the fuck owns the cows, but they're everywhere. They just walk around, just chill, walk on the beach, eat some grass. And everyone's like, move on.
Yep.
It's fucking weird. I mean, it's just different. I shouldn't say it's weird. It's just different. What were you going to say, Def Name the Frey?
Well, random in the random fact corner, there's almost fuck all like wild larger animals in England. We do have wild horses down in the south west.
Have
I
you
used
ever
to
ridden a
live kind of
horse?
down there. No, fuck no. But they're one of the reasons they're still wild is because they're relatively small, I think, and so no point eating them. Not really
They're
worth
like,
anything, so nobody domesticated them.
Okay, so
useless
they're
horses.
actually they're wild from long ago. It's not that someone just decided,
Oh
with my
yeah.
horses.
Pushing
Yeah,
this
so
thing out.
no, so really specifically, there aren't all that many like ancient or semi-ancient breeds of wild horses left in Europe, and the UK is like infamous for having all of our nature completely destroyed by intensive farming and all sorts of things, and the upper class having grouse moors and all this other shit. But one of the weird things that we do actually have is wild horses, because they're just like they're in a poorer part of the country, kind of in a random place by the sea, and they're just sort of there, and everyone's like, oh yeah, just fucking ponies, aren't they? Just not, don't worry about those. It's
So,
like, what?
two things. These horses still exist because they've been left alone because they're shit. But
I guess so, yeah.
What the
By the way,
fuck
is
is
not
it?
an academic. I'm not like an ecologist. That is my assumption, is that they're not tasty or something. Otherwise, somebody would have eaten them.
You can't eat them.
Right?
Tastes like gravel.
Yeah, maybe they taste
so-
shit. I mean,
It's like
so
chicken.
so somebody is free to clear me up on why those have not been eaten. I just assume they don't taste very good.
I would assume so.
For a group of people who are decidedly not English, what the fuck is a grouse moor?
Oh, yeah, I guess you guys probably don't have that. So the majority of the country, or at least a large part of the country, is owned by the upper classes, right? That's like a thing. And back in the day, they kept deer parks, right, to go hunt deer. And actually, to be fair, they still own a lot of deer parks. That's still a thing. Big amount of land used for that. Deer also non-native, eat oak trees, loads of stuff like that. Very, very bad for the environment. Well, in large numbers, very bad for.
Ooh, I didn't know that they weren't native.
Nope, deer. I'm pretty certain. Well, there's several types of deer. So I think we do have native deer, but there are also non-native deer. But also, deer need an apex predator to control them.
Okay.
But that's
we're talking about like white-tailed deer or something then.
Okay, whoever is an expert in the chat on the ecosystem of the British Isles, you tell me which one is the native one, which one is the non-native. I feel like I want to say roe deer is the native one. I'm probably wrong about that, and we'll find out when somebody corrects me. So, yeah, there you go, New Forest ponies. See, somebody else is aware of the pony situation.
I'm I was almost certain there would be none of our 8 viewers that would know about what the fuck you were talking about.
Fucking everyone knows about ponies. Anyway, so grouse moors really specifically, you get a patch of high land, right? And instead of leaving it as a moor, like, which is like a fuck, what is a moor? A moor is like a
I love that
I almost regret asking now. Like,
I love that
moor is
every
like a
British
hill with no
definition
trees.
is made up of other terms that you also have to describe. It's like an infinite tree of what's a
very
moor?
much
Well, a
regret
moor
asking
is a
the
bunch of
question.
these hedges. Oh fuck, what's a hedge? All right,
You
a
have
hedge is this, because
You know
a
what
hedge is
heather
different there.
right? You know what heather is, or heath? No,
Was it like ledger?
heather or heath, like heathland or heather.
Like
No.
Heath Ledger?
Yeah, heath heather. No, so it's like high upland areas with like low scrub.
What's
you know what
upland?
scrub is? Like scrub vegetation.
Okay.
How far down
and
the Merkle tree are we?
You get a lot of this in New Zealand, places like that. Anyway, the point is that trees grow out of that normally.
What's New
You
Zealand?
end up with tree cover, right?
Yes.
The rest of Europe, you would end up with tree cover. But you essentially you put sheep on it or you leave deer on it, and it gets eaten down and it stays as heathland.
Okay.
And that is all the better for shooting grouse with. And also specifically, the land is kept with low vegetation so that you can shoot these birds called grouse, right?
Yes.
Which incidentally are non-native, and they're released into the countryside in huge numbers, such that I think at the point where they get released for the grouse hunting season, the biomass weight of grouse in the UK is like the highest of any bird. Like all birds together, it's just grouse, just for rich people to shoot.
Where do they pull those in from? Like, where do they import
Fun
that?
fact: there is a whiskey called the Golden Grouse.
The best bit, right, is they're not very good shots, so a lot of them get away. And they just basically go and wreak general kind of havoc and then die because they're just like loose in winter in the middle of nowhere. And the best bit, the icing on the cake of all this, right, is that we have loads of flooding problems in these river valleys and those sorts of areas, and nobody could work out why, right, until essentially modern ecological science, and they were like, oh yeah, we've traced the water table, and basically what's happening is the water's raining on that hill 5 miles away, and that hill should have trees on it, like naturally would do, and it would have potentially large animals on it, like in a state of nature, and blah blah blah.
Okay.
There would be fucking beavers probably in that river. But anyway.
Oh,
because you got to keep the ground for the rich people to shoot.
Okay.
Your house is now flooded.
Wait, you paused there for a second. That was the best part of the story.
It seemed like a critical second as well.
It really did.
Okay,
It's like,
long and short.
Go back to the beaver.
Your house is now
go
flooded.
go back to the beaver because I was pulled in. Go back to the
Right,
beaver.
so for whatever reason, basically, you remove all those animals and you instead just say, "Oh, this land is only for grouse shooting." It basically, because of the way the water table works, all the water just basically rolls off the grouse moor and floods the town below. So there's like, why do we always get flooded? The answer is the rich people are shooting grouse on top of that hill 5 miles away. That turned out to be the reason. And but yeah, they're rich, so they still get to do it. And there are a bunch of towns like Hebden Bridge in West Yorkshire. You just get flooded all the fucking time, and the residents are just like, "Why is our town underwater?"
Man, that was that 20 minutes?
Too long.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's also why the new King of England didn't have an inheritance tax, right? Is that why that was?
Probably. It's all about passing down wealth and land with that law, isn't it? Like,
fun fact: all of the Queen coins are going up in value.
Really?
You got $2 with a Queen on it, and it's a special edition. You're
are
banking.
they worth more than $2 now? Has money?
Yeah, it's like
all money's
some were
broken.
like $500 for some fucking $2 coins and shit.
Does Australia no longer have the Queen on its money? Because I think Canada does.
Well,
right?
it changes over now to the King, right? So all the Queen coins are like
Oh, they got to remint all
money.
that shit.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of effort for somebody that nobody likes, isn't it?
They should just skip Charles and just print it with William on there and just skip a generation, right?
They should put the Kingnodes logo on there.
Just skip Charles. Charles, we're going to skip.
Hey, so I have some news, guys.
Oh, let's talk.
Clap. Yeah. I am coming to the US of A.
Really? Where to?
Yeah.
To Schultz's address, which is...
I'm generally going to the US of A. Going to go to East Denver and then like flail for a month. So I'm kind of
are you going to go
after
see
couches to sleep on.
So you're going to go say hi to Blockpain? Is that what that is?
Yeah, well, I'll go see
Doxed.
like Blockpain and Artifact and some other fellas, and then
Are you really
see if
going?
there's any other?
Are you going to East Denver?
Yeah.
All right, I'll go to East Denver.
Oh, perfect.
I'm going to East
Yeah,
Denver.
let's go.
Schultz will be back. He'll be back somewhere in the United States. Not doxing him, so maybe we might have
here.
Which means only the Frey not committing to East Denver.
I'm not going to East Denver.
Damn.
I don't.
Not even like I thought.
Come
I thought
on.
we were friends.
I have.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't really do long distance, long haul anymore. Like for environmental reasons, if I can avoid it. Like
Maybe I can jump on the train and just whip over for like the afternoon for a bit.
well, I hear there's going to be big. There's a couple of big Cosmos things next year in Europe, so I'll go to them and see people.
How far is it between the States and like it's just over the pond, right? Maybe we could. You can you get there
miles,
on the train?
something like that.
It's
It sounds like a train.
I think
Yeah.
It's a bit.
Um,
It's a bit.
That's the thing. Once you get a train under the sea, you get complacent about flying. You're just like, well, I can just get the train under the sea to all the.
Maybe we can meet in like
capital.
Europe somewhere, Germany. We'll pick at Hetzner or something.
Well,
Did I send you the video about going to the Hetzner Data
Hetzner.
Center? It looks quite cool, actually. But I don't think they just let you go in. They don't do that. That's not a thing you can do.
that'd be great.
Hey,
No,
can
we
I unplug this cable? What will happen if I do
Want to
that?
see my validator?
We can pick it
Which
for
one's my validate? They're like,
POS.
validate.
We can pick it for POS equality.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
it's important that some
turn
nodes
off our
run in
nodes.
Hetzner, which is, luckily that all
None of
nodes run in
Kingnodes.
Hetzner.
Not of us either. So, and Cosmos Verse, they haven't announced anything related to Cosmos Verse next year, right? That might probably a couple of months away from that being talked about. But since
No,
it's just
I guess.
ended,
Well, I guess this year there was Cosmoverse was in Lisbon, and then there was
Medellin.
Medellin this
Look,
year.
I'm calling it now. The next one is going to be in Asia for sure. It'll be in
It's
Yeah,
going to
it
be
might
South
be.
Korea. I would bet
Yeah.
money on it being in South Korea,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
That's
So
where I'm
we'll
putting my
see.
money.
We'll see about that. Like, I don't know.
And Korea's really fucking close for me. So,
What's that? Only 12 hours on the plate.
yeah, about. Yeah.